Yeah, I just want to start by saying my heart and thoughts and prayers are with the people of Western North Carolina. Obviously, my wife and I and family spent some time there in Boone, North Carolina, and to see the devastation caused by the hurricane has been very difficult. I know those people are very resilient, but they could definitely use our help. And I know I retweeted a tweet by Sean Clark today that has a link to for donations for the people of Boone, specifically the student athletes and the faculty at App State University. But there's all kinds of people in Western North Carolina and in Eastern Tennessee that could use our help. And so definitely want to bring awareness to them and let them know that they're not forgotten and that our prayers are with them. Obviously, we have a tremendous challenge to go on the road this week to play a top 25 team in one of the premier stadiums in college football. Mike Elko has done a tremendous job wherever he's been as a head football coach, and obviously this being his first year, he's really doing a tremendous job, I think, developing the identity of that team. I think it starts with their new quarterback, Marcel Reed, who's clearly become the focal point of what they're doing offensively. You can tell, in my opinion, Coach Klein is very comfortable with him as their quarterback. His style of play reflects, in my opinion, what Coach Klein had in the past at K-State and the type of player that he was. Does a great job designing run schemes for him, also utilizing him on the move, and he's able to create opportunities on his own with his feet. Interesting connection. Marcel's sister, Bria Reed, is our assistant director of on-campus recruiting here at the University of Missouri, so she's not allowed at practice this week. And didn't know that until about 3 weeks ago when he started at Florida and won. One of the staff members told me. So obviously happy for their family, and Bria does an excellent job here, and we're very fortunate for her to be on our staff here. Coach Elko always does a tremendous job on defense. They're multiple in their attack, very multiple in their coverage scheme. Third downs have always been a problem. Gone against him several times in my past. Like I told Kirby, it's his opportunity to try to dial it up because I haven't been too successful against it. They've got some really good football players, led by Mel Kiper's #1 defensive end on the board, Nick Scorton. He's a game wrecker, single-handedly won the game for him, in my opinion, versus Arkansas. But it's not just him. They have multiple defensive linemen who I think are tremendous players, whether you're talking about Shamar Stewart or Shamar Turner. Cassius Howell, the transfer from Bowling Green, played at Rockhurst and is a really good player that subs in their dime package. So they've got a really good scheme on both sides of the ball. They're extremely talented, and it's going to be a very difficult challenge for us. As a team, we really need to have the best Tuesday practice that we've had all year, and that's our challenge for our team is to stack good days. The only thing we can control right now is our preparation for today, and that's really what our focus is. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Eli, having a bye week, 4 weeks into the season, what were kind of the advantages of having it, a little early, especially against before a big matchup like this?
Yeah, I think the advantages were you kind of got to see where you're at after 4 games and figure out what are the continued glaring weaknesses that you got to shore up, and then what are the strengths or maybe the things that have surprised you that you should push your teams towards. And then the opportunity to get healthy. I think so far, other than Marquise, everybody else is going to be ready to roll.
You mentioned after the last game that you wanted to take a long look at some things over the bye. What really took a lot of your attention, what really stood out as you were kind of doing that evaluation?
Yeah, there was multiple things in really all 3 phases, but it really kind of was summed up in, third down offensively in the red area has not been good in the 2 Power 4 games. I think we were 3 for 10. And there's a lot of different things that can get fixed, but if you just fix those issues, I think everything else kind of falls into place. So being better in third downs in the red zone. Defensively, we had missed 22 tackles against Vanderbilt, and we had in the 2 Power 4 games, we had 4 busted coverages that directly resulted in 28 points. So, clearly communicate, make sure we're all on the same page, and then better tracking angles and tackling, which was a point of emphasis last week in our drill work, and then consistency at the specialist position. We've had 2 out-of-bounds kicks in 4 games, which just can't happen, and we've had multiple games with multiple missed field goals, which it's got to get cleaned up. So, again, every position coach had things for their position, and every player had things that they needed to improve. But from a 10,000 feet view, that was what my focus was.
Coach, with the third downs in the red zone, if I remember correctly, that was something that Kirby had spent a lot of time on this off-season looking at. What does that process maybe look like when it's compressed into a bye week, and what needs to change at this point after getting 4 games of that?
Oh, I don't think there's a whole lot that has to necessarily change. I think there's just got to be better execution, and there's got to be better schematic fits. A couple of plays designed weren't conducive to being successful, and a couple of plays, aren't executed the way we thought they should be. So it's everybody doing their job just a little bit better is really what it comes down to.
Eli, by your opening statement, I assume that you fully expect Marcel Reed to be their starting quarterback, and does anything change if you see the other guy?
I mean, at this point, I know on their depth chart it says the other kid's the starting quarterback, but I mean that's just semantics in my opinion. The guy's 3-0 as the starter, and whether he's listed as questionable or whatever, I don't see them going back. So they're 3-0. They clearly have a different offensive identity with this guy as the quarterback, and they've developed an offense that fits around his system. It's a little, I wouldn't say a little bit different. It's a lot different than the first game of the year. So, I mean, if they go with the other one, they go with the other one. But they've kind of already built the offense towards this, towards Marcel. And, I think he went out with the press conference yesterday. So whether or not there's semantics around it, I fully anticipate Marcel being 3-0 as a starter is going to be the starting quarterback.
Marcel Reed is a little bit more mobile. What similarities do you see from the past few quarterbacks? Have you seen what differences?
It's a common theme right now for the opponents that we play. I think he's got a speed dynamic that is similar to Thomas Castellanos. I don't know if the short, until you see him live, I don't know if the short area quickness or burst is the same. And I don't know if he's got the physicality necessarily that Diego had, but he's kind of somewhere in between both of them. He does a really good job keeping his eyes downfield, throwing the ball. Obviously, he had the wheel route for Florida for a big one that kind of exploded the game in in A&M's favor. So he can definitely create on the move, and he does a really good job of buying himself time. I think, maybe one stat I saw was he threw for 2 touchdowns and had 80 yards rushing in back-to-back games. I don't think he quite got there last week, but that was the first time since Johnny Manziel that had been done. So obviously he's in rare air with what he's able to do from an athleticism standpoint. For us, it's just one of those challenges that I think he's a really good thrower. So it's not like you can sit there and try to do the same rushing attack that we had against Boston College to keep him in the pocket, because he'll pick you apart. But I don't know that we can afford to let him out of the pocket the way we end up letting with Diego a couple of times. So we've got some challenges on that side of the ball to try to figure that out.
Coach Le'Veon Moss was the first running back to go over 100 yards versus Arkansas. He got 90 of those yards in the fourth quarter. So what makes him a dynamic runner, and kind of you guys got to do to stop him?
Yeah, physical back, downhill guy. They do a really good job in their fold schemes, trying to create edges. And they're consistent with trying to run the football. We've gone against Coach Klein in the past 2 years. He understands that running the football is not just about creating explosive in the first quarter. It's about adding up those carries so that in the fourth quarter they can really take their toll on a defense. And I think that's what you saw in the Arkansas game. Downhill back, shoulders, runs violent.
Eli, for the first road game of the season, to be at a place like Kyle Field,
Yeah.
what are the challenges of playing at a place like College Station, especially with even helmet communications as well?
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting situation just because we've got 46 new players on the team, so it's going to be a lot of newness for everybody traveling. We've all traveled before, but it's the first time traveling together, and so that for a head coach who worries about everything, that's a little bit of a point of concern for me right now. It's going to be hot. It's supposed to be 92 degrees on Saturday, which would be the hottest game we've played in all year, which is again, October, holy cow. But and then you know, you're going to have to combine that with 105,000 people who, you know, are joined forces and trying to, you know, create distractions for your team. So you're going to have to be able to block out the noise, play on the 100 and you know, the 100-yard field and the 53 third yard wide. I mean, and focus on the things that you can control in between the white lines. You know, communication is going to be at a premium. You know, you watch back the Alabama A&M game last year. I mean, it's first and second down, and their center and quarterback are having trouble on exchanges. So, you know, it's something that we've been preparing. We've worked a noise segment of our practice every single day since the start of fall camp. But now it's going to be noise for a full, you know, 3 hours and 5 minutes. So it's going to require a lot of concentration and a lot of focus.
With Marquise Johnson, I'm wondering how he's doing on that challenge of emotional consistency. He's obviously had to stay patient with catches and now being gained up a little bit. Like, just, I know it's only been 5 weeks since you talked about that being a focal point for his improvement. Where have you seen growth from him in that area?
Well, I mean, I think in the last game he made a huge play coverage down the field, and he's embraced his role as one of the best gunners that I've ever had on a special teams unit. And so he's found ways to be productive on our football team outside of just catching the ball. You know, but now this is a new challenge, obviously with a banged up ankle and trying to get back healthy as quick as you can, knowing that you're not going to be, you know, for a guy who relies on his speed, that's probably the biggest challenge, is when you're not quite where you want to be with your speed. So, you know, it's something that we're all, you know, rooting for and working, and he's going to have to work his way through it. You know, fortunately, he's got guys in that room who've battled through that. You know, Luther, his first year, battled a high ankle for the first part of the season. You know, and so there's some people in that room that can help him with the mentality part of it.
Coach, you mentioned in your opening statement your thoughts being with Boone, North Carolina. Is there anyone specifically that you've been checking in with? Is everything going okay back there?
Well, I'm honestly, you know, I checked in with several of them, tried to check in with several people over the course of Saturday and Sunday, but no limited cell service, didn't get responses. Have gotten a couple of responses today. People in our old neighborhood, friends in our old neighborhood who have, you know, suffered flooding, and then obviously the pictures of downtown Boone were, I mean, mind-numbing to me. The picture of the Walmart flooded. There's a picture of the Boone golf course that's, you know, 8 feet of water on it, and just knowing the communities there and where people were living, just knowing that houses are destroyed, and I think that's probably a really hard thing, because I know it would be, you know, a hurricane's coming in from the Gulf, and you can kind of prepare for it, but to be in the mountains of western North Carolina and wake up one day and everything you have is floating down a flooding area is unimaginable. And I know they're in desperate need of supplies. You know, you've seen Good Samaritans that I saw yesterday where Joe Gibbs Racing had donated his helicopter and was flying in supplies, and several people were donating helicopter services. I saw where the NC State player and his mom were sending up U-Haul trucks and trailers. But the people of western North Carolina are resilient and tough, but they need our help now more than ever.